Welcome everyone to my review of IDW Sonic's Scrapnik Island Issue 2. Before I continue, I'm going to place my spoiler warning here. Now I highly recommend reading, or at the very least, rewatching my review of the first issue, and read this one before proceeding with today's review. Nevertheless, I'll go ahead and give you a quick rundown of what's happening so far. Sonic and Tails crash land on an artificial island made up of remnants of the Death Egg called Scrapnik Island. So named because of its inhabitants, the Scrapniks. Badniks that utilize different parts of other badniks to patch themselves together. Despite their scary appearance, they seem friendly enough, especially since Sonic injured his foot in the crash, and he and Tails are stuck here until their plane is repaired. However, our heroes are not completely out of the woods. Mecha Knuckles is ready to defend his home against intruders. Mecha Sonic's attack Sonic programming is beginning to resurface, and while he's been a polite host, I have a feeling E117 Sigma is hiding something. Will this feeling remain at the end of this issue? Let's find out. We start with a flashback to E117 Sigma washing up on what would become Scrapnik Island. He reactivates and starts moving inland. When we next see him, he's in his current look. Sigma just finished patching up an egg robo, and as he reveals, it wasn't the first. We move ahead further to when the Scrapniks are starting to build their society. A patched up Hoi-Hal, the Mushroom Hill Zone mini-boss, informs Sigma of a new arrival that washed up on shore, Mecha Sonic. In the present day, on that same beach, Sonic is chilling out while Tails is tweaking with the Miles Electric, specifically its translator feature. He's able to decrypt the Scrapniks' communication signals and convert them to rudimentary speech, but they can only talk through the speakers. Besides, the only thing the Scrapniks can say right now is hello. Sigma and his party arrive, and he's impressed with Tails' work. Tails said the work was easy, since the Scrapniks are made up of older model badniks that have easily hackable signals. Everyone is so amazed about the Scrapniks' ability to talk, they fail to notice Mecha Sonic glitching out again. Anyway, Sigma lets Sonic and Tails know about the state of their plane. The good news is, the damage sustained is repairable. The bad news is, the power source for the plane, the integrated drive generator, is cracked. It needs to be replaced, and those things aren't easy to find. Fortunately, Sigma may know where a spare one is, though it requires a little trip into the Death Egg. Sonic wants to join in, despite his foot being injured. Sigma reassures a worried Tails that he and Mecha Sonic will see to his safety. He also suggests that Tails stay with his assistants so that they can get to work on the plane. Inside the Death Egg, Sonic, Sigma, and Mecha Sonic take a brief detour so that the latter can water the sunflower. Sigma explains it washed up on shore one day, and Mecha Sonic's been caring for it ever since, with the goal of planting it on real soil one day. It is here we learn that the Scrapniks' ultimate goal is to leave this island. While they still consider the place their home, they still feel trapped under Eggman's shadow, only by relocating elsewhere that they can find true happiness. The egg carrier Sonic saw earlier, Sigma and the others are reconstructing it so that they'll leave this place behind. As the three press onward, they are unknowingly being stalked by Mecha Knuckles. It is then Sigma suggests the old tried and true horror movie cliche of splitting up. That way, they'll have a better chance of finding the drive generator, though Sonic will be pairing with Mecha Sonic. This gives the two a chance to bury the hatchet and make a fresh start. Before they shake on it, Mecha Knuckles makes his move. Mecha Sonic manages to get Sonic out of the way just in time. Rather than face him head on, Mecha Sonic takes Sonic back to Sigma, just when he located the driver generator too. Mecha Knuckles arrives, and Sigma tells Sonic that his original Eggman directive to guard the Master Emerald Shrine was so embedded in his programming that he couldn't remove it. Thus, he altered it so that Mecha Knuckles has to guard the egg carrier, or scrambled egg carrier as he called it, instead. Sigma tries to get Mecha Knuckles to stand down, to no avail. And like that, Sigma's taken out. Mecha Sonic steps in, and the two go at it. This is surreal, and yet somehow familiar. During the fight, Mecha Sonic starts hallucinating his fight with both Sonic and Knuckles on Sky Sanctuary. As Mecha Sonic attacks the Sonic hallucination, he calls him trash. Then the hallucination changes to a pixelated all-black Eggman, stating Mecha Sonic is his greatest creation to date. And all this is happening during the fight with Mecha Knuckles, remember? Maybe. There is a good chance that everything Megasonic is witnessing is happening all in his head, just as he's lying there after getting hit by Mechaknuckles' spiked ball. Regardless, the hallucination finishes with Knuckles punching through Megasonic, and as he falls down, Sonic's words "trash" keep echoing in his head. Then he reactivates and spin dashes into Mechaknuckles just before he can get to Sonic. Well, that takes care of that problem. Unfortunately for Sonic, Megasonic's attack Sonic program has fully kicked in, and the issue ends with the patched up doppelganger grabbing Sonic by the neck. It seems E117 Sigma is generally on the level. After all, it's not uncommon for Eggman's robots, especially those of the E-series line, to turn against their master. Since he pretty much founded Scrapnik Island, all he wants is a peaceful life for him and his Scrapnik cohorts, as well as help Sonic and Tails leave the island without incident. He even provides Tails help in the form of his 3 Egg Robo assistants. Daniel Barnes reveals on his Twitter the names of the trio, which Natalie Fordrain designed. The one wearing the bandana is Florentine, the one wearing a sweater around his waist and carrying a big wrench, Benedict, and the one wearing the baseball cap is Rancheros. Rancheros, by the way, is the Egg Robo Sigma was working on in the flashback, if you didn't know already. It was also an interesting choice to start with the flashback, though again, it's to show how sincere Sigma is about changing his ways, and to show off his ability to cobble together as many of the Scrapniks seen today. I hope he found an alternate power source, since it would still be morbid to use live animals. Presumably, he also got rid of the programming that made the Scrapniks hostile in the first place. Though when it comes to the more advanced units, it seems Eggman's hostile programming was too much for Sigma to fully purge, even when he thought he did. To be fair, they were robotic doppelgangers, so Eggman may have had some extra work done on them. I'm surprised Mechaknuckles got taken out after all the buildup he had, considering who he was up against and how he got wrecked again. Yeah, it makes sense. I was hoping he'd stick around longer, but his presence served to bring forth the true antagonist of this miniseries, Megasonic. Before I dive deeper into him, I want to briefly touch upon the fight between the two. This reminds me of another Megasonic vs Mechaknuckles fight, specifically Archie Sonic's Mecha Madness, though in that case it was the actual characters that were turned into robots. I wonder if Daniel took some inspiration from that story arc. Although, from what I've read, he was not aware of Archie Sonic's Island of Misfit Badniks, so who knows. The fight also reminded me of 2 Terminators, one good and one bad, attacking each other to protect/destroy the intended target. Then it kinda shifts over to a Freddy vs Jason situation, where it became a fight to decide who will take out their target. It's almost sad to see Megasonic go from caring for a single sunflower to holding Sonic by the neck. But again, it's due to the fight with Mechaknuckles. That was the worst possible time to hallucinate/have a PTSD flashback to his fight with Sonic and Knuckles. Good on the comic for remembering that Megasonic fought both of them in the game Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Sonic merely incapacitated him and left him for dead, while Knuckles was the one to finish the job. Since then, the remains presumably fell into the ocean until they wound up on Scrapnik Island. The sequence where Megasonic goes nuts is freaky. Props to Jack Lawrence for the visual journey into Mecha's mind, with the Sonic and Knuckles hybrid, and the figures of the two plus shadowy Eggman looming over his head. The glitchiness is a nice way to hide their classic features, by the way. Then we have the words of Sonic describing Megasonic as trash, after he's been called his greatest creation by Eggman. No wonder his original programming kicked in. This sequence illustrates what Sigma said earlier, that the Scrapniks, even though they're trying to change, are still under Eggman's shadow. From Megasonic's point of view, he does not want to be seen as trash, and he wants revenge. He starts by wrecking Knuckles. To be fair, Mechaknuckles was disguised as the real thing in Sonic Advance 1, which the comic does a nice callback, by the way, and now he's ready to take revenge on Sonic, who has a major disadvantage at the moment. Alright, let's move on to a couple more things right quick. First of all, I've read online that the image of Scrapnik Island is essentially the death egg that's been cracked open, and in the center is like the yolk. Nice visual there. And then we have one of the more lighthearted moments of the issue, Tails translating the Scrapnik language verbally through the Miles Electric, a step up from the language to text method from Sonic Colors. We also got some new Scrapnik designs, once again courtesy of Min-Ho Kim, who by the way watches my channel. Hi. Anyway, the new designs. We have Ben, Judd, Emily, and Cyril. Honestly, it's kinda hard to identify which Badniks they're made up of, though I do recognize the Octus Badnik for Emily's head. Still, kudos on these designs. While the horror theme has been toned down a bit, it's still present, this time emphasizing on the more psychological horror via Mechasonic's mind screw, and I have a feeling based on one of the covers for next issue, that the horror elements are going to ramp up again. In hindsight, it was a good idea for Tails to stay behind, because now he can stage a rescue. So come back next time as he and the Scrapniks try to figure out how to save Sonic from an even deadlier Mechasonic. See ya then. Greatest creation to date, huh? If Sonic Origins is accurate, that's ultimately a slap in the face, as Eggman's greatest creation is his very first and still active robotic duplicate, Metal Sonic. Kinda makes me want to see these two duke it out.